We got Chris Weidman back here on the program. He's got a big rematch coming up here against Uriah Hall at UFC 258 on February 13th. Chris, how's it going?
It's going well, man. How are you?
Doing well. So last time we talked, you were sort of in process of moving to South Carolina. How did everything go? Are you all settled now?
Yeah, man. Everything is great. We love the area we're in and the community. Made a lot of great friends out here so far. Got some great training going on. And everything is going very well. I wouldn't say I'm 100% settled in. We still have tons of work to do at the house where I'm constantly dealing with, but way more settled in than I was, like, let's say, a month or two ago.
And speaking of training, I know you got to work with your buddy, family member, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who's going to be fighting on Saturday. How's Wonderboy looking ahead of this fight? He's going to be in the main event on Saturday.
Yeah, so one of the perks of living where I'm at in South Carolina is that he's about an hour and 45 minutes away, so it's pretty quick to, get in there and get some training in and get back home. So he's doing great. I mean, he's in great shape. I just think with this fight in particular, Wonderboy does really good with plotting strikers. You could use Jorge Masvidal or Vicente Luque as examples. He really is great at, his style is just really great at taking advantage of those plotting kickboxers. He's just very hard to get range on and to find his timing. And he's been fighting those type of guys his whole life, so he just has a lot of experience that, a guy who started MMA really just doesn't have.
And you're taking on Uriah Hall, like I mentioned off the top. How did this matchup all come together? Because I think people forget it is a rematch. You guys fought on the regional scene against each other.
Yeah, I don't really know exactly how it came together. UFC, Mick Maynard, I guess, hit up my manager and mentioned Uriah Hall. I said, I'm in February. I had a torn cartilage in between my ribs that I was kind of nursing, so I told them I was going to be good late January, early February. And so they got me Uriah Hall mid-February, and I honestly couldn't be happier and more psyched about this matchup. It is a matchup that we had back on the local scene. Usually, I wouldn't be so excited about fighting a guy who I already beat and beat in the first round because, it's like, how do you beat that? How do you beat that? Mm-hmm. But our careers have gone full circle. It's been 10 years. So much has gone on in both of our careers, ups and downs, and I'm excited to stand across that octagon against him one more time on the biggest stage that you could possibly be on and fighting. And, and just it's amazing how both of our careers, we came back together 10 years ago. I mean, 10 years after the first fight. And at that point, we were both just undefeated prospects. We were both ranked, I think, like number 1, number 2 prospect in the world, and at middleweight. And it was a lot of heat going into that fight. Whoever wins this is going to go to the UFC. There was definitely some excitement surrounding that fight on the local scene. Whoever was on his team, on Tiger Showman, they thought he was unbeatable. Whoever was with me on the Sarah Longo team, and from Long Island, everyone thought I was unbeatable. So it was a really exciting first fight, and I'm excited to do it again.
Now, were there any other sort of options there? Because I think some people were maybe saying, you and Luke Rockhold. I know that's a fight that, has been sort of discussed for years. You guys were supposed to fight actually, a couple of years ago. Was that ever on the table, or was it always Uriah Hall?
Yeah, no, that fight was never mentioned to me. That was never an option. We had first they were offering me Marvin Vettori, then they were also offering me Chimaev. I told them whoever they want to give me, I don't care. I'll take them any of them, but it just needs to be after my rib heals, and after mid-January or so. And they came back with Uriah Hall. So
okay. Yeah, and Vettori obviously ended up getting that fight with Jack Hermanson, recently. But I guess he wanted to fight probably soon, so that's probably why that didn't come up. Because you guys had I saw you had a little back and forth on Twitter, the two of you.
Yeah, I said my piece and walked away. At that point, he had not beat anybody good, and he was just talking stupid. And I'm just like, I'm not entertaining this guy. His best win before his last win against Hermanson was really not a win when he lost to Israel Adesanya. I mean, he tied the guy who I just beat, Omari Akhmedov. So he was just talking all crazy and whatever. We went back and forth a little bit. It would be fun to fight him. He talks a lot, but I just wasn't healthy to do it.
So you mentioned the Uriah Hall fight, 10 years in the making for this rematch. How do you feel like you match up against him now? Because obviously both of you are different fighters than when you fought way back then.
We are, but we aren't. I don't know. Obviously, we both have way more experience, but at the end of the day, I am a guy who presses forward, punches, kicks, and looks for takedowns, and he's the guy who tries to keep it standing. So as far as what we bring to the table, obviously things have changed, but the typical game plan for both of us is kind of maintain the same. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And then for training camp, is your entire camps now at Upstate Karate? Is that how it works, or do you do sort of a hybrid thing? Maybe still talking to Longo. How does that work?
Yeah, no, I'm actually heading down to New York on Friday, and so today is what's today? Wednesday, Thursday? No, tomorrow. I'm heading to New York tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I have a lot to do today to get all ready to go, and I'm gonna head down there for about 5-6 days. Right before Christmas, I'm gonna head back home. And then after Christmas, I'm going to fly back and spend another week or two there. So I'm going to be going back and forth. I see myself kind of doing a hybrid camp between mostly New York, Upstate Karate, and then also when I'm in the Charlotte area, Jimmo. It's in Gastonia in North Carolina, and they have Impa Kasaganaya.
Kasanane, I think is how you say it, yeah.
Okay. The coach, Jimmo, great guy. So I'll probably be in there. They have a bunch of middleweights, guys around my weight, so I could get some really good work in with. And obviously going down to Upstate Karate with Wonder Boy and his dad. I think Wonder Boy could give me a great look into a Uriah Hall fight. So.
Absolutely, yeah. That's interesting. And then back at Longo's, who is Volante's there? Who else do you get to work with in terms of bodies over there?
Longo's working on it. I don't know, my weight class down on Long Island, really, there isn't as many
a lot of big guys
to work with. There's not as many big guys. I think our gym in that weight class is one of the our gym in general is one of the best gyms in the world as far as talent, but it's really a lot of the smaller guys that are there. I have guys that I'll be working with, but nothing like huge names. Volante will definitely be helping me out, and we'll try to get some boxers in and some kickboxers from the city.
Okay, yeah, a little variety, and then obviously Wonder Boy, and then Carl Reed's over there too, right? Another big body over at Upstate, right? Do you get to work with him at all?
Yep. Oh, absolutely, yeah. He's another big, strong, athletic guy. Great kickboxing and wrestling, so he's going to definitely be he's going to be very helpful for me as well.
So the weight cut, we got the Christmas holidays coming up and everything else. How are you navigating through that with the weight cut? Do you try and just eat good, through the holidays as best you can? I know the fight's a ways away, but still, I'm sure you're thinking of getting down to 185.
Yeah, I'm just doing way better. I would get over 220, and then my last fight camp, it was really hard to get on the 215, which was crazy for me. Usually that wasn't the case. So, I did a good job keeping my weight low and still focus on strength and everything. And so I'm happy where I'm at right now.
How do you envision the fight playing out on February 13th?
Hopefully just like the last one. I went out there, if you haven't seen the fight, and just went after him. I ended up taking him down. He got back to his feet, and I was just all over him with punches and, landed some good shots. And I ended up knocking him down with a left hook and finished him with a barrage of punches on the floor. So finishing the first round. So if I could do that again, I'm in. And it actually was the same left hook I knocked out Anderson Silva with, a very long left hook. He has a tendency of leaning his head back when guys are striking on him, and so I like to get in that into the inside on a guy like that and just bring heavy punches. And I got long arms, so no matter how long he leans back, I'll be there.
Where does a win over Uriah Hall put you in the grand scheme of things? Because that'll be 2 in a row at 185. I mean, I imagine that's got to get you a top 5 after this.
Yeah, I think it gives me a big fight, and puts me in a position to where I think I could shock the world again and remind people that Chris Weidman is still here, and I'm still a problem. So that's really the goal, is to just remind people that I am one of the greatest middleweights of all time, and I'm still here, and I'm still fighting. And
do you ever see you and Robert Whittaker fighting? That's the one fight we haven't seen in that division, and obviously you guys were both the middleweight champion. Like, is that a fight you see happening at some point? He just won his last fight, by the way, beating Jared Cannonier.
I love how you always give me their last fight and how it went down, just to refresh my memory. You're awesome,
no problem.
James.
Yeah, of course.
I appreciate it. I love Whittaker, man. I'm a fan of him as well. It's not even like I don't really want to fight him.
Okay.
Competitively, like, obviously I would, be fun to stand in the octagon with him, but I like that guy a lot. I'm not calling him out, not, fighting this fight to win, then so I could fight Robert Whittaker.
For sure, yeah.
If it happens, it happens. But that guy, yeah, I look up to that guy. He's just a great role model and a great person. So I have zero.
A lot of respect there. No, I like that. I think that's really
punching
cool.
him in the face.
Yes, Anderson Silva. Obviously his last fight, the guy you're fighting, Uriah Hall, just defeated him in the third round. He was released from the UFC, and it seems like a lot of promotions aren't interested. What do you think happens with him? Do you think he fights again, or do you think that's it?
I think he fights if he wants to fight. Yeah, someone's going to give him money to fight. He may not be getting the money he wants. It seems like the free agency market isn't really in the best place right now, probably due to Corona and everything. And it's also unprecedented that they're letting guys go with fights on their contract. It really does put everybody, in a position, if you're in the UFC, like, oh crap, if you're not winning right now, especially if you're getting paid a lot of money, it looks like they're trying to get rid of you and bring these younger guys up, and who they're not paying as much money. It seems like they're trying to kind of focus on that. So I think he's going to fight again because it seems like he's really into, being a martial artist and still loves what he does. And I don't think he looked bad in his last fight against Uriah Hall.
I don't either. I thought up until the knockout, he was pretty competitive with Uriah.
Yeah, it's not like he couldn't put on some great fights still in the UFC, even at, how old is he, 46?
Yeah, something like
45?
that. 44, I think.
But I just think it's a money thing with the UFC at this point, and they're trying to kind of change the guard a little bit, and they started with him, and then you see him with Yoel Romero. It was always just a thing. If you have fights on your contract, that is a position for the UFC where you can't go somewhere else and make money, and so you always wanted a little bit less fights in your contract. That was always the negotiations. And now it seems like they're actually just letting guys go, even with tons of fights on their contract.
Yeah, it is a bit interesting. By the way, Silva 45, want to correct people. I could already see someone in the comments being like, he's 45, man. So would you want to see him box Roy Jones? That's the fight been rumored for years, and Roy Jones just fought Mike Tyson. Do you want to see that happen?
Yeah, I would love to see that. I'm all about any UFC fighters making money, and I'm sure he would get a lot of money in that fight. So that would be awesome, man. I would fight Roy Jones Jr. I want to fight any YouTube guy out there.
Yeah, what do you think? I was going to ask you about that. What do you think of this Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather thing?
I mean, listen, it's just like exhibitions and just money getting thrown around.
Grab, yeah.
People are excited about watching two guys in the ring together, and it's not necessarily too serious, and it's just a show almost. And they're getting paid crazy money for it. It's not like the best fighters in the world are going at it, and you're getting paid crazy money. It's two guys, I mean, Floyd Mayweather is obviously Floyd Mayweather, but this other guy, Jake Paul, Logan Paul, they're just, I could say Jake Paul, from watching him, he's not that great. I would say he's a below average amateur boxer, in my opinion, and he's fighting. I don't know, how much money did he make in his last fight?
A lot. I don't know the exact figure, but I mean, these guys are getting bank. I mean, that's for sure. Well, that kind of brings me.
You offer Conor McGregor $50 million. I mean, obviously that could just be something that he's throwing out there.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to fight McGregor.
I wonder what these guys. Yeah, I doubt it happens, but I wonder what these guys are actually making. Probably over $10 million.
Oh, it's a lot.
Insane. Yeah.
Well, and then that was going to be my question. Do you like these guys entering the boxing space? Do you think it's good, or because it's bringing more eyeballs, or do you think it's bad and it's kind of like sort of making it like the Wild West over there?
I think it is. I think it's good. You bring more eyes to the sport, but it's also like, as long as people realize it's a joke. It's a little annoying when you get people asking, who would win in a fight between me and Jake Paul. Like, oh, you think you could beat that guy? I'm like, come on, please. So like some people, just general fans, casual fans, may not be paying attention enough to realize like the difference between an actual like legit professional world class fighter and a YouTube star who's jumping in there. And not to say they're absolutely terrible and they shouldn't be boxing at all, but the level that they're trying to box and what people perceive them as is definitely fluffed.
Were you surprised to see Yoel Romero get released from the UFC?
Yeah, definitely surprised. Yeah, like I said, after the Anderson Silva fight, after we seen Anderson Silva get cut, that was interesting. It seemed maybe there was just something with him and the UFC and negotiations and whatever. And
apparently they said that he I guess they offered him Brunson and Hall actually before you. Apparently that's what he said in an interview yesterday. And so they're kind of like, okay, well, we obviously can't come to an agreement. We're going to release you. I think that's part of it that I think makes a little bit more sense. But still, it's Yoel Romero. The guy's just fought for the title and he's not in the UFC anymore.
Oh, okay. So they actually
apparently that's what he said in an interview yesterday with Ariel. Yeah.
Why did he say no to those guys? Did he say?
I think he mentioned that they weren't big enough names for him, I guess was what he was trying to get at.
Yeah. That being said, it's just never been done before where they're getting rid of guys with fights on their contract. Like that would usually be a thing that would not be smart for the UFC to do. Then you get this big name who's leaving, and they usually wouldn't let fighters have that right. So this is just a completely different ball game we're dealing with here. Are
you worried at all? I mean, you're coming off a win, but let's say this fight doesn't go according to plan. Does that cross your mind at all? The UFC might say, "Hey, look, like it's just too pricey for us to keep guys like yourself around."
I'm not really worried about it, but it's I wouldn't be surprised. There's nothing that surprises me. I don't think I'm more special than anybody to where they're gonna just like, oh, Chris Weidman's the guy that we're just gonna keep forever, no matter what. So. If I don't prove that I am a world-class fighter and prove that I'm still title challenger ready, then yeah, I could 100% see that.
And sort of last question on that note, Tony Ferguson, I don't know if you caught the fight last weekend, Tony Ferguson, Charles Oliveira. Ferguson ended up losing. That's now 2 in a row for him. What do you think's next for him? Because I think his days as a contender right now appear to be gone.
He didn't look great in that fight. It happens. Sometimes you have bad fights. I don't know if that means that he's just never going to have a good fight again. But he was definitely flat and didn't look great. And Oliveira, I did think I thought that was a bad matchup going into that fight, to be honest. I was telling people, I remember watching Oliveira back in the Ring of Combat local stage, and he was just, he was always extremely aggressive. Even on the feet, throwing just crazy head kicks, just nonstop. And then, he'll flop to his back and throw up for arm bars and triangles, and he's taking you back. I mean, he's a very dangerous guy, and Ferguson does make a lot of mistakes and kind of, like, people are worried about him on the ground. But Oliveira, I think he was a step up on him, on the ground. Obviously, he showed it. And Ferguson has some tricks up his sleeve with some chokes and stuff. But Oliveira is, I think, a more well-rounded guy who's been doing that submission, living that submission game since I remember in like 2009.
No, for sure. Chris, I know you got a million things to do. Thanks so much for doing this. I know you got to go to New York soon. Just remind people where they can find you on social media or any thank yous you want to say. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, thank you to all the fans, anybody who supports me. I appreciate it. Chris Weidman on all social media outlets is where I'm at. And get ready for an awesome fight on February 13th. It's going down. And thank you to Vayner Sports for setting this interview up. And thank you to you, James, for doing it.